Admiral Jiwan stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars through the large viewing window. She had been in space for 2 years now, leading humanity's first deep exploration fleet far beyond the solar system. The mission was simple: find new worlds where humans could live and grow. The fleet was small but powerful: 5 warships, 2 science vessels, and 3 support ships. Each one carried the best technology Earth could build. Jiwan felt proud every time she looked at them. These ships represented everything humans had learned about space travel and War. Admiral, called Communications Officer Taehoon from his station. Captain Minho is requesting to speak with you. Jiwan walked to the communication panel. Captain Minho commanded the destroyer Thunderbolt, one of the fastest ships in the fleet. His face appeared on the screen, looking serious. Admiral, we're picking up strange energy readings ahead, Minho said. They're not natural. Something artificial is out there, and it's big. Jiwan felt her heart beat faster. After 2 years of finding empty space and dead planets, they had finally found something. How big, Captain? Very big, ma'am. At least 50 ships, maybe more. They're arranged in some kind of formation. Dr. Hyeron, the fleet's expert on alien life, moved closer to hear the conversation. She had been waiting for this moment since they left Earth. Admiral, this could be it. First contact with another intelligent species. Jiwan nodded but remained careful. Captain Minho, maintain distance and keep watching. Don't let them see us if possible. I want to know what we're dealing with before we make contact. Yes, ma'am, Minho replied and ended the transmission. Far away in space, the Valdari Empire ruled over thousands of star systems. They had been the strongest power in the galaxy for 3,000 years. No other species had ever challenged them successfully. Fleet Commander Zephyros received the report from his scouts with mild interest. Strange ships had been detected at the edge of Valdari space. This happened sometimes. New species would venture too far from their home worlds and stumble into the Empire's territory. Zephyros was not worried. The Valdari had the most advanced weapons and shields in the galaxy. Their technology was so superior that most battles ended before they truly began. Other species either surrendered immediately or were destroyed quickly. Send Commander Thexvalar with 3 battlecruisers, Zephyros ordered. Standard first contact procedure: show them our power, demand their surrender, and bring their leaders back for questioning. Back on the Indomitable, Engineer Do-hyun was running final checks on their newest weapon systems. The plasma lance cannons were still experimental, but test results had been promising. The quantum fold engines were also new technology, allowing the ships to move faster than anything Earth had built before. How are our defenses looking? Admiral Jiwan asked as she entered the engineering section. Do-hyun looked up from his console. All systems are running perfectly, Admiral. The deflector shields are operating at full power. Our armor plating is the strongest we've ever made. If we have to fight, we're ready. I hope it doesn't come to that, Jiwan said. But it's good to know we're prepared. Dr. Hyeron was in her laboratory, preparing first contact protocols. She had studied every theory about meeting alien species. Most experts believed that any civilization advanced enough for space travel would be peaceful and rational. They'll probably want to trade knowledge and technology, she told her assistant. This could be the beginning of a new age for humanity. Lieutenant Commander Nari, the fleet's tactical officer, was not so optimistic. She studied the sensor, readings from Captain Minho's ship. The alien formation looked military. The ships were arranged for battle, not peaceful contact. Admiral, Nari called over the communication system. You should see these readings. The alien ships are heavily armed. This looks like a war fleet, not an exploration group. Admiral Jiwan studied the data. Nari was right. The alien ships carried massive weapons and strong shields. They were clearly built for fighting. Maybe they're just careful, Dr. Hyeron suggested. If they've met hostile species before, they might travel with military protection. Or maybe they are the hostile species, Nari replied. 3 Valdari battlecruisers moved through space toward the human fleet. Commander Thexvalar felt confident as he watched the unknown ships on his screens. They were much smaller than Valdari vessels and appeared to use primitive technology. Begin standard approach, Thexvalar ordered. Prepare to decloak and show them our power. Once they see what they're facing, they'll surrender quickly. The Valdari had perfected this technique over centuries. Their cloaking technology made them invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. The sudden appearance of massive warships usually terrified other species into immediate submission. On the human ships, sensors detected energy fluctuations but couldn't identify their source. The readings were unlike anything in their databases. Captain Sohi commanded the frigate Soul's Pride, the smallest warship in the fleet. Her crew was young but well-trained. They had practiced combat scenarios many times during the long journey from Earth. "Captain," her sensor officer called out. "Something strange is happening. I'm reading massive energy signatures, but I can't see anything." Before Sohi could respond, 3 enormous alien ships appeared directly in front of the human fleet. They were dark and threatening, covered in weapons and glowing with alien energy. "All ships maintain positions," Admiral Jiwan ordered over the fleet communication system. "Do not fire unless fired upon. This is still a first contact situation." The Valdari ships were impressive. Each one was twice the size of the largest human vessel. Their hulls were black metal decorated with strange symbols. Weapon ports glowed with purple energy. Commander Thexvalar opened a communication channel to the human ships. His words were translated by Valdari computers into simple mathematical concepts that any intelligent species should understand. Message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Dr. Hiren worked frantically with her translation equipment. The alien language was complex, but the universal mathematics helped. Within minutes, she understood the basic meaning. "Admiral, they're demanding our surrender," she reported. "They say we're trespassing in their territory." "Tell them we're peaceful explorers," Jiwan ordered. "We mean no harm." But before Dr. Hiren could send a reply, the alien ships began charging their weapons. Energy readings spiked dramatically as massive cannons prepared to fire. "All ships, shields up," Admiral Jiwan commanded. "Prepare for possible combat." The human fleet quickly activated their defensive systems. Deflector shields formed glowing barriers around each ship. Weapons systems came online, ready to respond if necessary. Commander Thexvalar watched with amusement as the tiny human ships raised their primitive shields. He had seen this before with other species. They always tried to defend themselves, but Valdari weapons were too powerful. "Fire a warning shot at the smallest ship," he ordered. "That should convince them to surrender." The alien battlecruiser's main cannon charged with brilliant purple energy. A massive beam of destruction shot across space toward Captain Sohi's frigate. Every human in the fleet held their breath as the alien weapon struck Soul's Pride. The impact should have destroyed the small ship instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The human deflector shields absorbed the attack completely. The frigate remained undamaged, floating safely behind its glowing barrier. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Valdari weapon had failed to harm its target. Commander Thexvalar stared at his screens in shock. His most powerful cannon had been stopped by primitive alien shields. This was not supposed to be possible. On the human ship's crew members cheered. Their new technology had worked perfectly. The alien attack, which should have killed them all, had barely strained their defenses. Admiral Jiwan realized that humanity was no longer the weaker species in this encounter. Their technology might actually be superior to these aliens. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not easy prey. Commander Thexvalar could not believe what he was seeing. His main weapon had fired directly at the small human ship, but the attack had done nothing. The alien vessel continued floating in space, completely undamaged. For 3,000 years, no species had ever survived a direct hit from Valdari weapons. Their technology was supposed to be unbeatable, yet these strange humans had somehow blocked an attack that should have destroyed them instantly. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked his weapons officer. Thexvalar felt anger rising in his chest. These primitive aliens had embarrassed him. They had made his mighty battlecruiser look weak. This could not be allowed to continue. "Charge all. Main weapons," he commanded. "We'll show them what real power looks like." On the human ships, Communications Officer Taehun was working hard to intercept alien transmissions. The universal translator was slowly learning their language patterns. Each message gave them more understanding of what these aliens were thinking. "Admiral," Taehun called out urgently, "I'm picking up their communications. They're not interested in peaceful contact. They're planning to attack us with full force." Admiral Ji-won felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She had hoped for peaceful first contact, but these aliens seemed determined to fight. The safety of her fleet and crew was now her main concern. Dr. Hyerin rushed to the bridge, carrying her translation. "Equipment." "Admiral, I've been analyzing their language. These are called Valdari. They seem to think they own this entire region of space. They're treating us like invaders." "We're not invaders," Ji-won said firmly. "We're explorers, but if they want to fight, we'll defend ourselves." Lieutenant Commander Nari was studying tactical displays at her station. The 3 alien ships were much larger than any human vessel, but size was not everything in space combat. Their weapons were powerful, but they seemed slow and clumsy. "Admiral, their ships are impressive, but they have weaknesses," Nari reported. "Their weapons take a long time to charge. Their movements are predictable. If we have to fight, we have advantages." Captain Minho's voice came over the communication system from the destroyer Thunderbolt. "Admiral, my sensors show their weapons charging again. Whatever they're planning, it's going to be bigger than the last attack." Engineer Doyun was monitoring the fleet's defensive systems from the engineering section. The deflector shields had performed perfectly against the alien attack, but he wanted to be sure they could handle more punishment. "Shield strength is at 98%, he reported. "That alien weapon barely scratched us. Our technology is definitely superior to theirs." This news should have made everyone feel better, but Admiral Ji-won was still worried. Superior technology was good, but they were deep in enemy territory with no support. If more alien ships arrived, even superior shields might not be enough. Captain Sohee stood on the bridge of Seoul's Pride, the ship that had been targeted by the aliens. Her crew was nervous, but determined. They had joined this mission to explore new worlds, not to fight wars, but they were ready to do their duty. "All weapon systems are ready, Captain," reported her tactical officer. "Our plasma lance cannons are charged and targeting the enemy ships." Sohee nodded. The plasma lances were humanity's newest weapons. They had been tested against targets on Earth, but never used in real combat. Today might be the day they proved their worth. Commander Thex Valar watched his weapons charge to full power. 3 battlecruisers firing together would create enough destructive force to eliminate a small planet. No shields in the galaxy could survive such an attack. "Target all human ships," he ordered. "We'll destroy them all at once and end this embarrassment." The Valdari weapons glowed brighter as massive amounts of energy built up in their firing chambers. The alien ships had never needed this much power before. Most species surrendered long before weapons reached full charge. On the human command, ship sensor readings showed the alien energy levels climbing to dangerous heights. Whatever they were planning would be much worse than their first attack. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Admiral Ji-won commanded. "Prepare for heavy fire." The human fleet began moving in complex patterns designed to make targeting difficult. Their quantum fold engines allowed for quick direction changes that would be impossible with older technology. Dr. Hyerin was still working on translation when she discovered something important. The alien communications contained references to other species they had conquered. The Valdari were not just defending their territory. They were an empire that had enslaved many other races. "Admiral, these aliens are conquerors," she announced. "They've destroyed or enslaved dozens of species. They see us as just another target for their empire." This information changed everything. Admiral Ji-won had been trying to avoid conflict, but now she understood that these aliens would never leave humanity alone. They would hunt down Earth and enslave or destroy everyone she cared about. "All ships, prepare for combat," she announced over the fleet communication system. "We are not dealing with reasonable beings. These are predators who threaten our entire species." The human crews had trained for this moment, but actually facing alien warships was different from simulation exercises. Still, they were professionals who trusted their training and technology. Engineer Kyung-soo, working on shield harmonics, made an important discovery. The alien weapons used energy frequencies that their deflector shields were specifically designed to stop. Human defensive technology seemed almost perfectly matched against Valdari attacks. "It's like our shields were built to fight these exact weapons," he told Engineer Do-hyun. "Either we're incredibly lucky, or human engineering is more advanced than we thought." Captain Jae-hyun commanded the carrier Daejeon's shield, which carried dozens of small fighter craft. His pilots were eager to test their skills against alien technology, but he wanted them to stay safe. "Launch reconnaissance drones," he ordered. "I want to know everything about those enemy ships before we commit our fighters to battle." The small drones raced toward the Valdari battlecruisers, scanning for weaknesses and weapon positions. Their high speed and small size made them difficult targets for large ship weapons. Commander Thex Valar was growing frustrated. His weapons were almost ready to fire, but the human ships kept moving in unpredictable patterns. Their speed and agility were far superior to anything he had encountered before. "Sir, the small human ships are launching tiny craft," reported his sensor officer. "They appear to be unmanned scouts." "Destroy them," Thex Valar ordered angrily. "I want nothing left of these aliens." The Valdari ships tried to target the fast-moving drones, but their weapons were designed for large targets. The small human craft dodged between laser beams and missile attacks, gathering valuable intelligence. Admiral Ji-won received the drone data and shared it with her tactical officers. The alien ships were powerful, but had significant blind spots and weak points. Their technology was advanced but seemed old and unchanging. "They've been using the same designs for centuries," Lieutenant Commander Nari observed. "Their weapons are strong, but they haven't innovated. Our technology is newer and more flexible." Chief Strategist Sunwoo was calculating battle scenarios on his computer. Even with superior technology, fighting 3 large warships would be dangerous. But if humanity could win this battle, it would send a strong message to the entire galaxy. "Admiral, we have a choice," he reported. "We can try to escape and return to Earth with a warning, or we can fight and prove that humans are not easy targets." Admiral Ji-won looked around the bridge at her crew. They were scared but determined. These people had volunteered for a dangerous mission to help humanity expand into space. They deserved a leader who would fight for them. "We fight," she decided. "If we run now, these aliens will hunt us across the galaxy. Better to show them that humans bite back." The Valdari weapons finally reached full charge. Commander Thex Valar smiled as he prepared to fire. These troublesome aliens would soon be nothing but space dust. "Fire all weapons," he commanded. 3 massive beams of energy shot across space toward the human fleet. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a space station or cripple a moon. But the human ships were no longer where the aliens had aimed. Their superior speed had allowed them to move at the last second, and the devastating attack missed completely. "Impossible!" Thex Valar shouted. "How did they move so fast?" Admiral Ji-won saw her opportunity. The alien weapons would need time to recharge after firing at full power. This was the moment to strike back. "All ships, return fire," she ordered. "Show them what human weapons can do." The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had brought more than just superior shields to this fight. Admiral Ji-won's order echoed across all human ships in the fleet. After years of preparation and months of travel, they were finally going to test their weapons against real targets. Every crew member felt a mixture of fear and excitement as they prepared to show these aliens what human technology could accomplish. Captain Young-ho stood on the bridge of the battleship Busan's Hammer, the largest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. His plasma lance cannons were fully charged and ready to fire. These weapons represented the very best of human engineering, designed to punch through any known armor or shield. "Target the lead alien ship," Young-ho ordered his weapons officer. "Single shot center mass. Let's see what these plasma lances can really do." The plasma lance cannon drew power from the ship's main reactor, creating a beam of pure energy that could cut through solid metal like a hot knife through butter. The weapon had performed perfectly in tests, but this would be its first use against an actual enemy. Engineer Do-hyun monitored the weapon systems from his control station. All readings showed green as the plasma lance reached full power. The technology was still experimental, but he was confident in its design. "Firing solution locked," reported the weapons officer. "Ready to fire on your command, Captain." Young-ho took a deep breath. This shot would either prove human superiority or reveal that their technology was not as advanced as they hoped. Either way, there was no turning back now. "Fire," he commanded. A brilliant beam of white-hot energy shot across space toward the Veldari flagship. The plasma lance moved at incredible speed, covering the distance between ships almost instantly. Commander Thex Valar had only a moment to see the attack coming before it struck his vessel. The results were beyond anything the humans had expected. The Veldari shields, which had seemed so powerful, collapsed immediately upon contact with the plasma lance. The beam continued through the alien hull like it was made of paper, causing massive explosions throughout the ship. Emergency alarms screamed across the Veldari flagship as critical systems failed one after another. The single human weapon had caused more damage than the alien ship had ever sustained in its long military career. "Impossible," Commander Thex Valar shouted as he tried to understand what had happened. "Our shields are impenetrable. No weapon should be able to penetrate them so easily." His engineering officer looked pale as he read damage reports. "Sir, we've lost main power on decks 12 through 18. The hull breach extends from Section 7 to Section 15. We're venting atmosphere and losing life support." Other Veldari ships watched in shock as their flagship, one of the most powerful warships in the galaxy, was crippled by a single shot from a much smaller human vessel. This was not supposed to be possible. On the human ships, crew members cheered as they watched the alien flagship struggle with massive damage. Their plasma lance had worked even better than expected, proving that human technology was indeed superior to these aliens. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer on Busan's hammer. "Enemy shields down, major hull damage, multiple system failures detected." Captain Young-ho felt a surge of pride in his crew and their technology. They had built something capable of defeating enemies who had seemed invincible just moments before. Admiral Jiwon watched the battle results with satisfaction, but she knew this was just the beginning. The damaged alien ship was sending distress signals, probably calling for reinforcements. More enemy ships would arrive eventually. "All ships maintain defensive positions," she ordered. "Be ready for the other alien vessels to attack." The two undamaged Veldari battlecruisers were indeed preparing to respond. Their commanders could not believe what they had witnessed, but the evidence was clear. The humans possessed weapons far more advanced than anything in Veldari technology. Captain Jae-hyun launched reconnaissance drones from his carrier to track the retreating signals from the damaged alien ship. His pilots wanted to engage in combat, but he kept them back until the situation became clearer. "Admiral, the drones are intercepting alien communications," reported Communications Officer Tae-hoon. "They're sending detailed reports about our weapons and defensive capabilities to someone called High Admiral Kixtalon." Dr. Minji, the fleet's language expert, worked frantically to decode more of the alien transmissions. Each message gave them better understanding of the enemy's military structure and plans. "Admiral, I'm learning more about their language," she reported. "These Veldari control a massive empire with thousands of ships. The ones we're fighting are just a small scouting force." This information was both encouraging and terrifying. If these powerful ships were just scouts, the main Veldari fleet would be enormous. But it also meant that humans had just defeated advanced alien technology with ease. Lieutenant Commander Nari studied tactical data on her screen. The damaged Veldari ship was trying to retreat, but its engines were failing. The other two alien vessels were forming a protective formation around their crippled flagship. "Admiral, should we finish off the damaged ship?" she asked. "It's helpless and could provide valuable intelligence if we capture it." Before Admiral Jiwon could answer, the remaining Veldari ships opened fire with everything they had. Dozens of energy beams and missile attacks filled space between the two fleets. "Evasive maneuvers," Jiwon commanded. "All ships, defensive pattern 7. The human fleet moved in coordinated patterns designed to minimize damage from enemy attacks. Their superior speed and agility allowed them to dodge most of the alien weapons, while their shields absorbed the few hits that connected. Captain Sohi's frigate Soul's Pride took several direct hits, but the deflector shields held strong. The alien weapons seemed powerful, but they were no match for human defensive technology. Shields at 70% and holding, reported her engineering officer. These alien weapons can't penetrate our defenses. Engineer Kyung-soo was monitoring shield harmonics across the entire fleet. The Valdari attacks were actually helping him understand how their weapons worked, which would make human defenses even more effective. Their energy frequency is completely predictable, he told Admiral Ji-won. I can adjust our shield harmonics to make us nearly immune to their attacks. The battle was becoming one-sided. Human ships dodged alien fire with ease, while their own weapons caused devastating damage with every shot. The technological gap was enormous, but not in the direction anyone had expected. Captain Wu Jin commanded the science vessel, Gwangju's Hope, which was recording every detail of the battle for later analysis. His ship was not designed for combat, but it carried valuable sensors and communication equipment. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from multiple sources, he reported. Not all of them are Valdari. I think other species are watching this battle. Dr. Hieron was analyzing these new signals with excitement. If other alien species were observing the fight, this could be humanity's chance to learn about the greater galactic community. Admiral, some of these transmissions seem friendly, she announced. I think there are species out there who want the Valdari to lose this battle. This was an unexpected development. Admiral Ji-won had assumed all aliens would be hostile, but apparently the Valdari had enemies who might become human allies. The damaged Valdari flagship was now completely disabled, floating helplessly in space. Commander Thexvalar watched his proud warship die around him as system after system failed. Send a final transmission to High Command, he ordered weakly. Tell them that we have encountered a species with technology far superior to our own. Warn them that the humans are not to be underestimated. His communications officer nodded grimly as he sent the message that would change the entire galaxy. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Valdari Empire had met an enemy they could not defeat. The other two Valdari ships were also taking heavy damage from human weapons. Their shields were failing, and their hulls were being torn apart by plasma lance fire. The battle that was supposed to be a simple demonstration of Valdari power had become a complete disaster. Admiral Ji-won realized that this victory would have consequences far beyond a single battle. Word would spread throughout the galaxy that the mighty Valdari had been defeated by an unknown species from a distant star system. All ships cease fire, she ordered as the last Valdari vessel began to retreat. Let them go. I want them to tell their leaders exactly what happened here today. The surviving alien ship limped away into deep space, carrying news of humanity's incredible power to the Valdari High Command. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's children were not the helpless primitives everyone expected. As the human fleet regrouped after their first interstellar battle, Admiral Ji-won knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had just announced their presence in the most dramatic way possible. The age of human expansion had begun with victory against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. But this was only the first battle in what would become a much larger conflict. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than anyone could have imagined. Commander Thexvalar's final transmission reached the Valdari High Command within hours, and the impossible report sent shockwaves through the entire empire. High Admiral Kix-Talon stood in the command center of the Imperial capital ship, reading the battle report for the 10th time. 3 of his best battle cruisers had been defeated by a small fleet of unknown ships. 1 vessel was completely destroyed, another was crippled beyond repair, and the third had barely escaped. This cannot be accurate, he told his advisors. No species in the galaxy possesses technology superior to ours. We have maintained our dominance for 3,000 years precisely because our weapons and shields are unbeatable. Admiral Keltharion, commander of the Valdari War Fleet, studied the tactical data with growing concern. The human weapons had penetrated their shields like they were not even there. Their own most powerful attacks had been completely ineffective. Sir, we must consider the possibility that we have encountered something genuinely new, she said carefully. Perhaps a species that developed technology along different paths than our own. High Admiral Kixtalon felt anger rising in his chest. The Valdari Empire was built on the foundation of technological superiority. If that foundation was cracking, the entire structure of galactic civilization could collapse. "Mobilize the Grand Armada," he commanded. "Every available ship, every trained crew, every weapon system we possess. We will crush these humans before they can threaten our empire further." The order went out across hundreds of star systems. Valdari warships began converging on the coordinates where the battle had taken place. Never before had the Empire assembled such a massive force against a single enemy. Meanwhile, the news was spreading to other species throughout the galaxy. The Valdari controlled communication networks, but information this important could not be contained for long. On the world of Kepler, the reptilian saurians received the first reports with disbelief. They had been enslaved by the Valdari for 800 years, forced to mine resources for the Empire. The idea that someone had actually defeated Valdari ships seemed impossible. "Are you certain of this information?" asked Elder Vextar as he studied the intercepted transmissions. "The Valdari have never been defeated in battle. Their technology is beyond anything we possess." Young Saurian engineer Kildar had been analyzing the technical data. "Elder, the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. These humans appear to use completely different principles for their weapons and shields." Hope was a dangerous emotion for enslaved species, but it was beginning to spread among the Saurians. If the mighty Valdari could be defeated, perhaps freedom was possible after all. Similar conversations were taking place across dozens of worlds. The crystalline Zephyrites, the aquatic Oceana, the insectoid Hive Collective, all species that had been conquered by the Valdari were hearing whispers of an impossible victory. Back with the human fleet, Admiral Jiwan was learning about the scope of what they had encountered. Captain Wujin's science vessel had intercepted hundreds of transmissions from across the galaxy, and Dr. Minji was working around the clock to translate them. "Admiral, the picture is becoming clearer," she reported during a briefing in the main conference room. "The Valdari Empire controls at least 40 star systems directly, with tributary relationships extending much further. They've conquered or enslaved over 30 different species." Chief Strategist Sunwoo was calculating the implications. "That means we're not just dealing with one hostile species. We've essentially declared war on half the galaxy." Dr. Hyerin disagreed. "Not all of those transmissions are hostile, Admiral. Many of them seem excited about our victory. I think some of these species want the Valdari to be defeated." This was encouraging news, but Admiral Jiwan remained cautious. "We can't count on alien allies until we know more about their motivations and capabilities. For now, we must assume we're on our own." Engineer Dohyun had been analyzing the wreckage from the destroyed Valdari ship. What he found confirmed their technological superiority but also revealed something troubling. "Admiral, their technology is advanced but stagnant," he reported. "These weapon and shield designs haven't changed in centuries. They've been relying on their initial advantage for so long that they've stopped innovating." Lieutenant Commander Nari saw the tactical implications immediately. "That explains why our newer technology is so effective against them. They're fighting with tools designed hundreds of years ago." Captain Jihoon, who commanded the support vessel Soul's Vengeance, had been monitoring long-range sensors for signs of approaching enemies. What he found was both expected and terrifying. "Admiral, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout this region of space," he announced. "Hundreds of ships are converging on our position. The Valdari are bringing everything they have." The human fleet had won their first battle, but now they faced the entire might of a galactic empire. Even with superior technology, the numerical disadvantage would be enormous. Dr. Yuna, the fleet's physicist, had been studying the quantum mechanics behind their technology. Her analysis suggested possibilities that could change everything. "Admiral, our quantum fold engines don't just provide superior speed," she explained. "They also allow us to manipulate space-time in ways that could give us strategic advantages. We might be able to fight battles that traditional physics would consider impossible." This news provided some hope, but Admiral Jiwan knew they needed more than advanced technology. They needed allies, intelligence, and most importantly, They needed to understand the true nature of the conflict they had stumbled into. Captain Yunji commanded the fighter squadrons aboard the carrier ships. Her pilots were eager for combat, but she was studying the tactical data to understand how small craft might perform against massive alien battleships. Admiral, our fighters are faster and more maneuverable than anything the Valdari have, she reported. If we can coordinate our attacks properly, we might be able to overwhelm their defenses through speed and numbers. Engineer Seok-jin had been working with the alien technology they had salvaged from the battle. His analysis revealed important weaknesses in Valdari design philosophy. Their ships are built for intimidation as much as combat, he explained. They're large and impressive, but they sacrifice efficiency for psychological impact. Our ships are smaller, but much more effective. Commander Sung-hyun was coordinating intelligence gathering across the fleet. The information they were collecting painted a picture of an empire built on fear and technological dominance rather than cooperation or innovation. Admiral, the Valdari rule through terror, he reported. Most of their subject species are kept in line by the belief that resistance is impossible. Our victory has shaken that belief across the entire galaxy. As if to confirm this analysis, Captain Wu Jin received an unexpected transmission from an unknown source. The signal was weak and clearly encrypted, but Dr. Minji was able to decode enough to understand its basic meaning. Admiral, we're receiving a covert message from someone called the Liberation Alliance, she announced excitedly. They represent multiple species that want to overthrow Valdari rule. They're asking if we want to coordinate our efforts. This was the opportunity Admiral Jiwon had been hoping for. Humanity might not have to face the entire Valdari Empire alone, but dealing with alien allies would bring its own challenges and risks. Can we trust them? Asked Lieutenant Commander Nari. This could be a Valdari trap designed to locate our fleet. Dr. Hiran studied the linguistic patterns in the transmission. The language structures suggest multiple different species contributed to this message. It doesn't match Valdari communication patterns at all. Admiral Jiwon faced a critical decision. She could try to fight the approaching Valdari armada with only human ships, or she could trust these unknown aliens and risk being betrayed. Send a response, she decided. Tell them we're interested in talking, but we want proof of their good intentions first, and maintain full battle readiness. We're not lowering our guard for anyone. The response came quickly along with detailed intelligence about Valdari fleet movements and tactical weaknesses. The information was valuable and appeared genuine, suggesting that these potential allies were serious about their rebellion. As the human fleet prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history, Admiral Jiwon realized that they had become the catalyst for something much bigger than a simple territorial dispute. They had sparked a revolution that could reshape the entire galaxy. The Valdari Grand Armada was approaching with thousands of ships, but they would not be facing humanity alone. Across dozens of star systems, enslaved species were preparing to fight for their freedom. The galaxy was about to discover that sometimes the smallest spark can ignite the greatest fire. The Valdari Grand Armada emerged from hyperspace like a storm of metal and death. Over 10,000 warships arranged in perfect battle formation, stretching across millions of kilometers of space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, designed to crush the human fleet and end this rebellion before it could spread further. High Admiral Kix Talon stood on the bridge of his massive command ship, the Eternal Dominion. The vessel was larger than most space stations, armed with weapons capable of destroying planets. Behind him stretched the combined might of 3,000 years of Valdari expansion. Today we restore order to the galaxy, he announced to his fleet commanders. These humans will learn that challenging the Valdari Empire brings only death and destruction. But as his sensors scanned the battlefield, Kix Talon realized something had changed since the first encounter. The human fleet was no longer alone. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different species had joined them, forming a coalition that should not have been possible. Admiral Jiwon stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the massive enemy fleet approach. She felt fear but also determination. Humanity had not asked for this war, but they would finish it. All ships report status, she commanded over the coalition communication network. Captain Jehoon's voice came from the command ship Soul's Vengeance. Coalition forces are in position, Admiral. We have representatives from 18 different species, 450 ships total. The numbers were still heavily against them, but Admiral Jiwan had learned not to judge by size alone. The alien allies brought knowledge of Valdari tactics and weaknesses that could prove decisive. Elder Vextar of the Saurian Liberation Fleet had provided crucial intelligence about Valdari command structures. Their ships are powerful, but inflexible, he had explained. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical innovation. Captain Yunji launched her fighter squadrons from the carrier ships. Human pilots flew alongside alien craft in formations that had never been tested before. The diversity of technology and tactics gave them options the Valdari could not predict. Fighter wings Alpha through Delta. Engage enemy scouts, she commanded. Let's see how they handle our coordinated attacks. The small craft raced toward the Valdari formation at incredible speed. Human quantum engines mixed with alien propulsion systems created a chaotic pattern that confused enemy targeting computers. Engineer Do-hyun coordinated defensive systems across the entire coalition fleet. The combined shield technologies of multiple species created protection that was greater than the sum of its parts. Shield harmonics synchronized, he reported. Our defensive network covers the entire coalition formation. Enemy weapons will have trouble penetrating our combined defenses. High Admiral Kix Talon watched the approaching enemy with growing concern. This was not the simple crushing of a primitive species he had expected. The coalition forces moved, with coordination and purpose that suggested careful planning and advanced tactics. Begin the attack, he ordered. All ships full bombardment. Destroy them quickly before they can coordinate further. Thousands of Valdari weapons fired simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and explosive projectiles. The attack was magnificent and terrible, representing the full power of a galactic empire. But the coalition fleet was ready. Captain Minho led the human destroyers in evasive maneuvers that seemed impossible, their quantum engines allowing direction changes that defied physics. Allied ships followed their lead, creating a defensive dance that turned the Valdari attack into a light show that harmed no one. Impossible, Kix Talon shouted as his massive bombardment missed its targets completely. How are they moving so fast? Dr. Yuna had coordinated with alien scientists to create new tactical possibilities using quantum fold technology. Space itself seemed to bend around the coalition ships, making them appear in unexpected locations. Quantum displacement is working perfectly, she reported to Admiral Jiwan. We can appear anywhere on the battlefield faster than they can track us. The coalition counterattack began with devastating effect. Human plasma lances combined with Saurian crystal cannons and Oceana sonic weapons to create destruction beyond anything the Valdari had ever faced. Captain Young-ho's battleship, Busan's Hammer, fired its main guns alongside Allied vessels. The combined assault tore through Valdari shields like paper, destroying ships that had been considered invincible for centuries. Direct hits across the enemy formation, reported Lieutenant Commander Nari. Enemy casualties are mounting rapidly, but the Valdari fleet was enormous, and even heavy losses barely reduced their numbers. Admiral Jiwan knew they needed something more dramatic to win this battle. All ships, implement Battle Plan Omega, she commanded. Time to show them what happens when the galaxy fights back. Engineer Kyung-soo had been working with Allied technicians to create a special surprise for the Valdari. Using captured enemy technology, they had developed a weapon that would turn the Empire's own power against them. Harmonic disruptor ready, he announced, targeting enemy command frequencies. The weapon sent a signal that interfaced with Valdari, communication systems turning their own networks into chaos. Suddenly, enemy ships could not coordinate their attacks or receive orders from their commanders. High Admiral Kix Talon watched his perfect formation dissolve into confusion as ships began firing in random directions or colliding with each other. His Grand Armada was destroying itself. "Restore communications," he screamed at his technical officers. "Regain control of the fleet." But it was too late. The coalition forces pressed their advantage, striking at isolated enemy groups that could no longer support each other. Captain Jaehyun's fighters swarmed through the Valdari formation, picking off disabled ships with precision attacks. Captain Sohi led a squadron of human and Saurian vessels in a direct assault on the enemy command ship. The Eternal Dominion was massive and heavily armed, but its size made it a perfect target for coordinated attacks. All ships focus fire on the command vessel, Admiral Jiwan ordered. Take down their leadership and the rest will surrender. Dozens of coalition ships concentrated their fire on the Valdari flagship. Plasma lances, crystal beams, and sonic weapons struck the massive vessel from all directions. Even its heavy armor and shields could not withstand such focused assault. Emergency alarms filled the bridge of the Eternal Dominion as critical systems failed throughout the ship. High Admiral Kix Talon felt his empire crumbling around him as reports of defeat came from across the galaxy. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from multiple fleet elements," reported his communications officer. "Many ships are requesting permission to withdraw from the battle." The psychological impact of seeing their flagship under attack was spreading panic through the Valdari fleet. Ships that had never known defeat were now fleeing from enemies they had thought primitive. Captain Wu Jin coordinated with Allied intelligence services to broadcast surrender terms across all enemy ships. The message was simple: lay down your arms and join the new galactic order or be destroyed. "Admiral, we're receiving responses from across the enemy fleet," he reported. "Many Valdari ships are powering down weapons and requesting safe passage." Dr. Hiran was analyzing communications from across the galaxy. The news of the battle was spreading rapidly, and the results were dramatic. "Admiral, we're receiving reports of uprisings on over 50 Valdari worlds," she announced excitedly. "The news of our victory is inspiring revolutions throughout the Empire." The Valdari Empire, built on fear and technological dominance, was collapsing faster than anyone had thought possible. Once their invincibility was proven false, their subject species were eager to claim their freedom. High Admiral Kix Talon realized that continued fighting would only lead to more destruction. His empire was already lost, shattered by the arrival of humans and their impossible technology. "Send a communication to the human admiral," he ordered wearily. "I wish to discuss terms of surrender." Admiral Jiwan received the message with satisfaction but also caution. Victory in battle was only the beginning of the challenges facing the new galactic order. "Tell him we'll accept his surrender," she replied, "but make it clear that we're not interested in replacing one empire with another. We want freedom for all species, including the Valdari." The formal surrender took place aboard the Soul's Vengeance, with representatives from all coalition species present. Captain Jihoon had arranged the ceremony to demonstrate that this was not a human conquest but a collaborative victory. As High Admiral Kix Talon signed the surrender documents, he looked at Admiral Jiwan with a mixture of respect and bewilderment. "How did you do it?" he asked. "How did a single species from an unknown world defeat an empire that controlled half the galaxy?" Admiral Jiwan smiled as she accepted the formal surrender. "We didn't do it alone. We did it together, with allies who believed that freedom was worth fighting for." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed rapidly. The Valdari Empire dissolved into independent systems, with former subjects claiming their right to self-governance. The coalition that had won the Great Battle became the foundation for a new galactic council, based on cooperation rather than domination. Captain Subin coordinated humanitarian aid to worlds damaged by